Okay, world history students, this video is to achieve a few things. That's our goal here. First, we're going to talk about the content standards 6 and 7. We've already finished number 5, and number 5, as you see here, is the scientific revolution impacted religious, political, and cultural institutions by challenging how people viewed the world. This time we're going to do 6, Enlightenment thinkers applied reason to discover natural laws guiding human nature in social, political, and economic systems and institutions. The first thing we need to do is, this is right from the Ohio Department of Education website, as you see in the top corner. We're going to look at this content elaboration. This tells you exactly what's expected of you to know for these standards. So I'm going to read it. Please read along and listen closely. The Enlightenment movement began in Europe and inspired change across the world. Enlightenment thinkers believed in the influence of nature and in human progress. Some suggested that humans were naturally good and by freely exercising reason would act for the common good. That word reason we've already seen a lot. And naturally good, that should remind you of one of the Enlightenment thinkers you've already written about. This required freedom from restraints of the government and the church. Enlightenment thinkers believed that natural laws guided social, political, and economic systems and institutions. This concept shaped the role of education, the relationship between government and people, and how goods and services were produced and distributed. So I already told you that this naturally good thing correlates with someone you've already learned about. So let's go ahead and jump ahead and do a quick review. Remember, we talked about Thomas Hobbes, and Hobbes thought that people were naturally greedy. People were greedy, and he thought that people were selfish. Locke thought that people were good. Now, because Thomas Hobbes thought that people were greedy and selfish, he thought that they needed to be controlled by an absolute monarch. And then absolute monarch would rule over every portion of your life. That's how the absolute monarch worked. Because Locke thought that people were good, Locke thought that people should rule themselves in the form of a democracy. That was a democracy. Okay, so people were good, so they would be able to rule themselves, and the type of government that results in is a democracy. We still need government, however, because government protects our natural rights. And Locke said that our natural rights include life, liberty, and property. Later on, as we'll see, America called the natural rights life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And I'm sure you all know that. So here's a picture of Locke. Let's make him look like Hobbes a little bit here. I'm going to give him a little curly-Q mustache. Here we go. That's nice. I think my drawing is better than my handwriting. Okay. So as you see here, 1632 to 1704 was John Locke. And if we go back to Thomas Hobbes here, he's a nice looking fella there. He was 1588 to 1679, so he was before John Locke. He came before Locke. Before Locke. I find myself repeating myself a lot on these because I just say what I'm writing a bunch of times until I'm finished writing it. Okay, so the next standard we're going to go into is number 7. So let's talk about number 7. And there it is. It is Enlightenment ideas, or excuse me, let me try again. 7. Enlightenment ideas challenged practices related to religious authority, absolute rule, and mercantilism. So, as far as religious authority is concerned, religious authority right there, we already talked about that, because in the scientific revolution we talked about how people started to look away from the church and look towards science to figure out things. And so we'll talk about that further and for this standard, but know that you already know a little bit about that. So let's read this content elaboration. Philosophical thought during the Enlightenment impacted religion, government, and economics in Europe. Challenges to religious authority began during the scientific revolution, with a shift away from the belief that truth is revealed solely through the Bible and the church. So a shift away from the belief that that truth is revealed solely through the Bible and church. We talked about that already in the scientific revolution back in standard number 5. There was a rejection of many of the church's doctrines and an increased focus on earthly as well as spiritual welfare. There was a shift from forms of government in which power was held by only one or a few individuals to forms of government in which many have a say, both directly and indirectly. So if I want to talk about powers that was held by a few individuals, that would be like our absolute monarchy. And if I wanted to talk about forms of government where people have say both directly, many have say both directly and indirectly, that would be like democracy. Enlightenment ideas promoted the belief in a social contract between the governed and their government. In that statement, we're going to talk a ton about this social contract. The mercantilist system was challenged due to a growing belief that natural laws could define an economic system, including a free market economy with limited government regulation. Another word you're going to see for free market economy is laissez-faire. Laissez-faire. So just associate those two terms, laissez-faire. That's the worst A in the world. Let me erase it and try again. Laissez-faire. So laissez-faire and free market are the same thing. So when you see laissez-faire, think through free market. It's the same thing. So that concludes this small video. I hope it's helpful. It will learn you real good things about the Enlightenment, and I hope you enjoy.